Hi. Okay, so first of all, um, I haven't done a silent film critique in a while, and there's a reason for that. When Halloween comes closer, I have a silent film critique that I'm going to do, and it is perfect for Halloween. So, so be prepared for that. The other thing is I haven't talked about anime for a while, and um, I did the Unico because YouTube had recommended that one. And I know that I talked about this particular one a couple times, but you know what? Let's actually talk about it. This is a movie that scared me to death. Why not talk about it? But the funny thing about this one is it's a Japanese American film that's based off of a comic strip that ran in New York newspapers. So the movie is Little Nemo Adventures in Slumberland. When it was released in Japan, it was just Nemo. I actually loved this movie very much. When I was reading it, though, it was released in 1989 in Japan and in Europe, but it's saying that it was released in the US in 1992. Now, I swear I saw it sooner than that. Sometimes on these things, because there was like this big when the 80s ended, there was like this huge celebration. And I remember watching it on TV when the decade ended. But I remember watching Nemo before that. Um, yeah, it's just. But anyway, I'm just kind of floored because it's. It really has, because I know that I didn't see it in '92. I I was so busy with Beauty and the Beast and and those Disney movies that the anime stuff I didn't really care about anymore. Because Disney was starting to pump out stuff like Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin and those, and then they had the cartoon series, and of course then there was like Darkwing Duck and that sort of thing. So I know that I saw Nemo when I was younger. So I don't think this is right. Um anyway, the screenplay, it says, is by Chris Columbus, who we know did Home Alone and Home Alone 2, Mrs. Doubtfire, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, also Gremlins and the Goonies. So here's another one for you. If you ever get a chance, look up the illustrations or the comic strip by Winsor McKay, because it seems like I talked about it before. I was looking it up, and when I looked it up just a few minutes ago, there's actually a silent film. Where is that? They wanted to they actually put Nemo and Slumberland on stage. So there was a stage production for this. Um, Apparently, it didn't run very well. Or maybe, no, looks like it did. Windsor's son, so the creator's son, was the model for Nemo, and it turns out that there are production photographs for the theater. Now, I thought that it was just for the illustrations, you know how artists do that. Turns out that it's for the music. It was a musical. It says Master Gabriel as the star of 1907 Little Nemo, the musical. Despite the show's success, it failed to make back its investment due to its enormous expenses and came to an end in December 1910. Now, there was a little film. It looks like it was only like 4 minutes or so. Now, it sounded very familiar. It sounded like I've seen it before. You know, there's a lot of times where I search for something and I watch it and I think, oh, that's not interesting enough, you know. But I'm gonna look for it and I will post a link to it. So yeah, there was a little film. It has animation and real life, kind of like what Walt Disney did with his Alice Adventures. So, and there's also an opera that debuted in 2012. So, shows the popularity of Slumberland. Now, the whole point of this story, I don't want to give away a lot. I hate doing that because I've done it before and I hate myself when I do that. Basically, the little boy, Nemo, falls asleep and he's in his dreamland. Well, in the movie, he has to help Princess Camille. He's on this mission to help her. And of course, when you hear things like Nightmare King, Nightmare Land, and goblins, you pretty much figure what's happening. um, big name, Gabriel Damon. Gabriel Damon is in Newsies. He plays Spock Conlon. So those of you who are Newsies fans, yeah, his voice acting wasn't just Littlefoot in the first Land Before Time. He was also in this movie. Mickey Rooney is also in this film. And there was another one that I saw. What was it? June Foray. One of the greatest actresses. I mean, she's everywhere. Oh, big loss to our childhood when she left. Cindy Lou Who and Magica Dispel and I mean, I don't think you can list all of the voices that she did in 2 days. She was quite a talent. Now, what I was also reading was that in Japan, this movie flopped. It didn't do too well. Over here, it was cut. Over there, the original cut is 95 minutes. The edited cut, they cut it here, it's down to 85 minutes. And the reason that they cut it, what did they say? 11 minutes were cut in order to secure a G rating. So the opening credits were shortened, and as a result, the opening song plays during the opening scene. There were mixed reviews. Roger Ebert said that Little Nemo is an interesting, if not a great film, with some jolly characters, some cheerful songs, and some visual surprises. He gave it 2 out of 4 stars, so it was cut in half. In 2004, it was released DVD. And when it was released to DVD, you got the full 95 minutes. So, even though it would receive a PG rating, however, this is not mentioned or addressed in DVD materials. Like, oh, just slide that in. Don't tell anybody, they're not going to remember. Little Nemo could be seen selling anywhere from $80 to $200 US for a sealed copy on the internet sites such as Amazon and eBay. Doesn't surprise me. There is a video game. My friend told me that she had the video game. Capcom developed an NES game titled Little Nemo the Dream Master. It was an arcade game at first. I want to make a pattern. When I started making patterns, I actually found some templates and I want to make a pattern for Nemo because despite it being so scary, I loved this movie. I absolutely adored it. But like I said, I don't think they're right on the year that it was released over here. It just doesn't seem right. Because when we moved here, yeah, that was about the time that Beauty and the Beast came out. And to be quite honest, that was also the time that I started veering away from child anime. Because The Rocketeer was like big for me. That when I saw that movie, I fell absolutely in love with it. I was like, The Rocketeer. And I wanted to see it in the theater. That's when the whole kid-like stuff was starting to drift away, except my family wanted me to stay a little kid and it was starting to piss me off, but whatever. But I remember I liked this movie and I watched it because I was a dumb kid who, I've talked about how I had no personality. It was like, oh, this is scary. I'll watch it over and over again. Oh, I'm so scared. I don't understand how that happened. Oh, man. Yeah. Yeah, I don't. Because, like I said, I was getting into the movies like The Rocketeer, and then the next year was Newsies, and Newsies was everything to me. I absolutely loved that movie, and I still do. And then Cool Runnings came out, and I mean, there were a lot of those. I don't know if any of you would know Big Green. It's the soccer movie. Oh, if you've never, you know, at the time it was big. You look at it now, and it's pretty corny, but we watched it all the time. And there were a bunch of other movies that came out, and at that point it was like a lot of the animation and like this anime and everything, I wasn't really that interested in it anymore. So the idea of, oh, the Mighty Ducks, when the Mighty Ducks came out, it was like forget everything else. I mean, holy crap. That movie came out and you wanted to be on that team. And I had two friends who they were in hockey. And oh man. Yeah, so I mean, so there were those movies that I was watching, and just I don't know. I just don't I just don't think this is right. I would believe that yeah, the video game came out the next year because usually that's how it works. But for this to come out 89, 90, like 3 years after the fact, it comes out in Japan 89, and then it says that in the US it came out in 1992. I don't think that's right. Because I specifically remember watching it. It just doesn't make sense. Well, anyway, I'm not going to dwell on it. Like I have been. So anyway, I'm not going to be able to sleep now. That's going to be bothering me to high heaven. So anyway, that's Nemo in Slumberland. I'm actually interested now that it says that it took away like 11 minutes, but they brought it back when they brought it to DVD. I kind of wish I had picked up the DVD when I saw it back when Suncoast existed. I didn't pick it up. I picked up something else. But I don't remember what I bought. Anyway, the original soundtrack was penned by the Academy Award Sherman Brothers. Yeah, who did Mary Poppins and The Jungle Book and Bedknobs and Broomsticks and The Aristocats. So those Sherman Brothers did the soundtrack for this. That I did not know. So anyway, Little Nemo Adventures in Slumberland is Japanese American. Mickey Rooney is a voice in here. He's like the big voice, and the screenplay is by Chris Columbus, who is also behind Home Alone and Gremlins and those movies. So if you're a fan of his stuff, here's another one for you. And Gabriel Damon is the voice of Nemo, who was also in Newsies. He was Spot Conlon. For those of you who snatch movies from, if you're a big fan, I went through that phase. Trust me, I went through that phase. I was buying all the movies that those guys were in. The only ones I have are the ones that Christian Bale was in. Got rid of a bunch. Yeah, so Gabriel Damon didn't just do the voice of Littlefoot. He also did the voice of Nemo. And then also June Foray. There really isn't any other big names in this. They show the Japanese voices as well, which I'm not. They show the American, and then in parentheses they will show the Japanese voice as well, because of course there was English dub, so for a lot of these. But anyway, so there's the original cut, 95 minutes, so apparently on the DVD you get the full 95 minutes. On the VHS, you don't. so for those of you that are nostalgic, that's something to think about. And also, before I close this up, again, take the time to look at the comic strip, because one thing I do remember is a lot of the backdrop illustrations in the movie paid tribute to the illustrations from the comic strip to Winsor McKay. So and his like landscape work, you know, because he did a lot of cities and he did a lot of stuff like that. Some of the stuff you're gonna see is kind of goofy, but it's a child's dream, so you know you're gonna have to get over that. It's odd, but there's a lot of stuff that is really cool cityscape stuff. And one of the things that I remember in this is they show a lot of cityscape stuff, and it looks almost exact. And that's one of the things that I really like about anime is the detail that they put into it when it's taken from directly from someone else, is that they do that. So, but anyway, yeah, so this is an anime from my childhood. It's Little Nemo in Slumberland.